This is my July 2020 TBR. For July, it's going to be the Pop Culture Readathon and also the Reading Rush. Well, my track record for the year so far has been shit with readathons. I did not do any of the prompts for Blackathon. I didn't do any of the prompts for the Asian Readathon. I didn't do the prompts for Prideathon. I didn't do the prompts for the Throwbackathon. I just kind of like took part by just like reading books and just acknowledging that I am a part of these readathons. It's been shambles trying to like keep up with the prompts because I'll be like, I'm gonna read these books. Like basically, it's easier for Blackathon and Asian Readathon because then it's like, okay, I'm reading books by Black authors with Black characters or with Asian authors with Asian characters. But then it's like the prompts. I'm trying to take part in the prompts, but I'm like, my bandwidth, child. Like I don't know. My bandwidth, she low. To try and figure out a book that's gonna match up. Half the time, some of these books, I'm just excited about reading them, but I'm not fully aware of their premise to kind of match them with a prompt. So I don't know, I'm lazy. I'm being lazy about doing prompts, so that's just where I'm at. But at the end of the day, going forward, I will try to take part in the reading rush and do the prompts. And I will try to take part in the pop culture readathon, but no promises. I'm kind of like settling into that, you know what? I can claim like I'm gonna be in a readathon and say, I'm gonna get back to you on the prompts later and never. I'm kind of okay with that consistency right now. That consistency I am maintaining and I feel comfortable with and I'm making happen, so I'm okay with that. So I acknowledge that the Pop Culture Readathon is here and the Reading Rush are here. They're both here and I can take part in them. And I will try, but at the end of the day, I have a certain set of books that I'm about to read for July and we're about to make that happen. But I do know for the month of July, I plan on reading How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin with Wendy of Book Nerd TV and Erica of The Broken Spine. Because after we had a live discussion of An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon, we decided, oh, let's do this again. I know Wendy's read this before and she said it was really good. I'm not a short story type kind of girl, but then and Jerry talked about this book and Rachel of the channel Rachel Ray, she also talked about this book. They gave some really good reviews that made me say, you know what, I'm gonna pick it up. And then everybody keeps talking about how amazing N.K. Jemisin is. I've heard N.K. Jemisin talk about world building. It had an episode of a podcast she was on, and she and the host, they, from scratch, built a world on that episode of the podcast. And she blew my mind just off of that alone by itself. Just her taking ideas from the host and the host just shooting her ideas well, these are the kind of people that are going to be in this world. And this is what they're going to do. And she just kind of backtracked and said, well, what would create these her ability to create worlds just blew my mind and astounded me. I'm like, I have to read an N.K. Jemisin book because if this is how she's building worlds, I know I'm going to love reading anything she writes because I'm aware of myself that I am just a world building junkie. I love no matter how kind of shit a book is, I mean I can't really say it's shit. When it comes to the Grisha trilogy, it's not really a shit book. It had I love the world that it was a part of. I just hated their relationship in there. So that was a shit thing. But at the end of the day, the Grisha trilogy had an amazing world, so I love world building in books and stories. Even in An Unkindness of Ghosts, although it was just such a heavy book, the world, although very complex to picture in your head, it was so much world that was just built into it, there was so much detail built into creating this world, so I was just amazed with that. So I'm looking forward to reading How Long Till Black Future Month and seeing the stories that she comes up with, the topics that she explores, and the worlds that she creates and we get to explore in these stories, and seeing what stories I like in it, what I don't like. Oh my gosh, this book I just realized has deckled edges. Go off, deckled edges. I'm looking forward to reading this. It is 22 stories, and I am hoping that I have a lot of fun reading it because it's pretty long. How long is it? Oh my god! Oh, she's almost 400 pages, but that's fine. I'll be able to get through this. I'm praying in July I will be able to get through it. Also, although the ghostwriter of this book is a problematic dipshit, I still want to finish Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, because how I see it now, this is a story written by Harry Potter himself. This is his memoir. It is a mystery memoir of his time at Hogwarts. It is a fantastic world. Even if the mystery is like, I already kind of know what the mystery is, I am here for the world. And although there are very, very problematic parts that I have been pointed out, where the ghostwriter was very problematic in how they talked about bodies, how they talked about transness in like, or at least kind of underlyingly kind of just was disparaging about trans lives and trans bodies in their writing. I still want to read it, explore it, have the experience. I'm third book in and I'm like not hating my experience, so I will finish the entire series. Plus, I already got the other 4 books in the series, so I'm gonna finish them. I'm gonna read it all. It's just that going forward, I honestly will not be doing reviews or really talking that much about these books. Beyond this discussion of like be saying that I'm going to read it, I will read it, but I will not really be going for it. I probably won't talk about these books. I don't really feel the need to promote it because, like, the ghostwriter, J.K. Rowling, she don't deserve the promotion. She don't deserve the free promotion. Like, this is enough right now. I'm very aware of what she says. I'm not okay with it at all. I will continue. I will read these books with going in with the awareness that she's a very transphobic, trans erasing, cishet person. And I will pretty much at this point kind of erase her from her own books if she's going to want to be like erasing trans lives, because a lot of shit that she says, it's not just affecting trans lives. Most importantly, it is affecting Black trans lives, and we're not with it. At the end of the day, I'm keeping it a buck. I will finish read these books. I just will not talk about them going forward because they don't deserve. As a matter of fact, from my understanding, Harry Potter doesn't deserve either. He does not deserve to be talked about that much either, but I'm here for the world, okay? I'm here for the world. That's where I'm at. I also want to finish Quinn Credible, Quest to Be the Best by Rodney Barnes, Selena Espiritu, and Kelly Fitzpatrick, because it's been a while. Like, I think I started reading this for Blackathon, but I only got like halfway through and I didn't finish it. I love the book. I love the storytelling. I love the characters. I love the artwork. It's so beautiful. But I really wanted to finish this and probably go on to the next volume bind up of this comic book and like see where else the story goes, because it's really, I enjoy it, and I like being able to see like this young Black superhero that is also like more representation. We're not just having like Static Shock, or we're not just having Miles Morales, but we also have like another Black male superhero. He's very, very relatable as a character. I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed it so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the rest of it goes. Same thing with Skim by Mariko Tamaki, with drawings by Jillian Tamaki. I'm loving it so far, but I only got like a short way in. I started reading this, I believe, for Asian Readathon too as well, but I only got to page 28. I need to finish the rest of it. I really want to, because it's giving me like super very much like The Craft, Clueless. I almost want to say Cruel Intentions, but not really. Cruel Intentions was way more like sultry, and this is just, it just seems a little bit dark, but also like high school. It's just giving me Heathers, Clueless. Well, not Clueless, because Clueless is not that dark, but it's giving me like Heathers and Craft vibes, and I'm here for it. So I'm excited to see where this goes and what like it explores, because it's pretty early in the book, and it's just kind of almost like a slice of life kind of story so far, with just some dark elements or just like some mystical elements, but it's not really magical. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Also, being that I never got around to reading these in June, I wanted to read Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman, because I really want to read these and watch the movies. And then also because people are getting real like spicy with their comments about these books and talking about like how these are stories, well, at least the movies are stories about gay people for straight people. And I kind of want to explore the books and kind of compare them to the movies and see how I feel about them. And in the vein of my favorite podcast, I also want to read this and watch the movie adaptation and kind of see how I feel about them. Because it's been a while since I've watched a movie. It's been a long time, but it's like one of my childhood favorites. It was just something that resonated and like connected with me so much. It was just such, I don't know, it just kind of embodied how you felt as a child, where you wanted to have power and you didn't. You know, you had like adults oppressing you, and now it's like you have this power to do things where you won't be oppressed. And then also it's kind of like a magical superhero kind, well, not superhero, but more like superpower kind of book. And I just love superpowers, okay? I love superpowers. I think they are fascinating and interesting. That is why I do enjoy superhero stories. But I also enjoy magical stories. So I'm excited about reading Matilda by Roald Dahl, illustrated by Quentin Blake. Also, I want to read these, well, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to read these 5 books by these Black queer authors, but I would love to, because after reading All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson, I'm kind of in that like nonfiction Black queer mood where I'm like reading the stories of like Black queer men. So I'm kind of in the mood. I will try to fit these 5 in. I mean, it's 5 books. This is probably about 1,000 pages right here. Probably 2,000. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to read them, but we gonna try, because I was reading this and I've pretty much kind of gotten through this book like in a week because of how accessible the writing is. But it might be accessible because this book was written for a very young adult audience. Although some of what happens in here is not completely young adult, but it's young adult enough. It keeps it real with teens about like, especially queer teens, about like what they should expect being queer in our society, and especially as people of color, especially as Black queer people. So I will try to read these. I have Shoulda Coulda Woulda, written by Dwight Allen O'Neill. It is a very inspirational book about his experiences coming up as a queer person. Him talking about his experiences when it came to him being a creative, being a gay man, being Black, you know, just kind of like any regrets that he might have had, things that he should have done, giving advice on those things and imparting those to readers. So I'm looking forward to reading this because I would love to read about his experiences. He's made like a great life, so it's just like, what are you gonna regret? Because there's nothing to regret. Like, you have and had an amazing, fabulous life. So I'm looking forward to seeing the inspiration and the advice that he imparts in this book. And besides, it's not that long, so I'll be able to get through this lickety split. Also, An Organic Guide to Living Happier and Healthier by Antoine Ward Jr. So this is going to be very self-help. This is going to be very much like about your health, about your fitness and all that, but also just imparting a lot of wisdom and life experience. And I'm looking forward to this. I heard him do an interview on the Him podcast. He really like connected with me. Like a lot of what he said, where he's just like talking about like his experiences growing up and how they made him who he is, and the stuff that he had, the trauma he's had to go through and work through to get to where he's at now. I'm just like, I'm looking forward to reading this and figuring out my own trauma growing up, that like through just reading what he's written, because it's giving me very much like All Boys Aren't Blue vibes. Just like hearing George M. Johnson like talk about his experiences kind of connected with me on my experiences. So I'm looking forward to reading this and connecting with his experiences and working through my own traumas and sorting that stuff out and doing the work to be just more grounded as an adult, more centered, more connected to me and what I want and who I really am innately. And I am looking forward to reading I Can't Date Jesus and I Don't Want to Die Poor by Michael Arsenault, because he's funny, he is so smart and so amazing. I'm sure he has a lot of great advice and a lot more stories to tell that I feel like I will definitely relate and connect to. I Can't Date Jesus and I Don't Want to Die Poor, because I really don't want to die poor, honey. I really don't want to die poor. I really can't. I really can't type poor. So I expect to learn some things from Michael Arsenault. I've already learned some stuff. Promote, promote, promote. Promote yourself. Promote your book every chance you can. Don't you be scared or ashamed to promote what you got going on, okay? Let the people know. Because if you don't speak up, ain't nobody gonna know. I honestly, I don't think Michael Arsenault said that, but I've gleaned that just like hearing him like talk about promoting this book. And I want to read No Ashes in the Fire, Coming of Age Black and Free in America by Darnell L. Moore, which I feel would just be an amazing book to read. Like I heard this is very, very deep, very heartfelt, kind of probably, I think it was just, it's very intense a read as well, so I'm looking forward to reading this. I feel like it's about to give me some of that All Boys Aren't Blue vibes where it's just gonna be very, very, it's gonna tap into those like childhood traumas that we gotta work through, and I'll be like, girl, you're bringing up memories that I didn't remember, that I couldn't like put together, that have shaped who I am at this point, or that have kind of, I don't know, I'm just looking forward to it. I'm hoping I could read it in July, but we don't know. We'll see. I mean, I already got like, we're at it again. We are pulling it. We are pulling a stunt again where we have all these books to read. I think it cuts off technically here at these like 5 books. These are guaranteed. Oh my gosh. But we'll try to go for the gusto and get more. I do want to finish my reread of Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I just really wanted to finish this. Kind of annotated a little bit, but also finish it so that I can go on to reading the rest of the series. I already have Scarlet, Crest, and Winter, so I kind of want to get into reading those and really get into this world because I do enjoy the world of this book. It's so fascinating. The romance in here she was kind of she wasn't the worst. She wasn't Grisha trilogy terrible, but she was just like, she really didn't blow the wig back. She didn't blow the socks off. She didn't drop the panties, nothing. She did nothing. So she didn't do enough or anything. She didn't do nothing. She really didn't do a lot. She really didn't. She was doing not enough, but also too much because they kind of fell in love a little too fast. I don't know. I didn't like their relationship, but I do love the world, so I kind of want to explore this world again. Kind of get back into this story again just to kind of see if I missed anything from my first read of it, but we'll see. Also, for the longest, I was supposed to read this for Blackathon, Black AF America's Sweetheart by Kwanzaa Sejafo and Tim Smith III. I have been looking forward to reading this. The artwork is beautiful. I really want to get into this story. It is a companion to the Black comic book, and I enjoyed the Black comic book, so I believe I will enjoy this even more, especially since this is in color. And the lead here is a young black woman, or a young black girl, or a teenage black girl who is a superhero, and she is amazing, and she wants to take care of the world and save it. So I'm looking forward to reading this. It seems like it's going to be very, very, very cool. And for the longest, I've had this book, Dead Magic, Book 1, The Black Veins by Aisha Monet. I have been wanting to read this book for the longest, ever since like I heard the author Aisha talk about this book on Twitter, like talking about like they published this book. It is a young adult book about like a group of friends. There's no romance in it. It was exciting to know that there's a book that does not need to have a romance in it, because a lot of the young adult books that are out don't need romances because those romances are not well executed. I mean, people complain about it regularly, but honestly, like now after reading them, like I understand the complaints, because at the end of the day, these are poorly constructed romances that are like shit, period. So I'm excited to get into this book and experience like a book of people and groups of friends who aren't, there's no 2 people in the group that are trying to like be in a relationship and hook up or force anything. They're just kind of being friends and existing, and maybe along the way, maybe in book 2, somebody will find love or a relationship, but it doesn't have to be in the friend group. It could be outside of that, and it could be a really organic, connected relationship. So I'm looking forward to reading this eventually. Hopefully, maybe I can fit this into July. We will see. There's no guarantees, but we will see. And I definitely want to read Magnifique Noir, Book 1, I Am Magical by Brianna Lawrence. I I'm looking forward to this. I've heard so many great things. Brittany and Melanin Eclectic talked about it, and Jerry at Onyx Pages introduced us to this book, and she talked about how amazing this book is. So I am looking forward to finally reading this and getting into it, getting into this magical world, meeting these magical black women and seeing like what they get into, because it looks like superhero stuff and very much my alley. Superhero magical stuff is very much my thing. So this is what I'm excited about. And it's gonna be queer, very queer, like queer black women. So I'm here for all of it. Also, I have something to unbox because I know there are some other books that will be a part of my July TBR. I got some additional books that I've just been like interested in getting, but then there are also like some other books that are a part of my TBR that my July TBR that I definitely will be reading. So I got another Case and Calendar book, Felix Ever After. I am looking forward to reading this. I heard so many great things about it. I still haven't read a Case and Calendar book. I have Hurricane Child, and I have This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story that I both have to read. So hopefully I might be able to do just like a complete Case and Calendar binge-a-thon thing, and just Case and Calendar read-along event, and just that's all I'm reading. And because Olivia's Catastrophe, she recommended The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta to me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick it up, because I already planned on picking it up. Because she recommended this as something that I should read, I will link her video of like Black Booktuber recommendations where she recommended this book to me in that video. I'm looking forward to reading it, and it's done in verse, which I was not expecting, but I'm excited to definitely do that because I enjoyed The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo when I was not expecting to enjoy it, and I appreciate Jessie for that because they put me on to me enjoying verse when I was just not expecting that I would. I am just looking forward to The Black Flamingo and getting into this story and exploring another black queer identity, and you know, something that deals with drag, with the drag world and drag scene and drag culture, that will not annoy me the way that Kings, Queens, and In-Betweens did. And I also got Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett. Jasmine at L'Amour de Books was suggesting that she and I do a buddy read, and I was like, oh, I'm here for this. Let's do this because I'm down for it. And I asked her, like, what would you want to buddy read? I wasn't sure what she'd already read that I haven't read, but she suggested Full Disclosure, and I was just like, oh yeah, let's do this. Let's read Full Disclosure. I wasn't sure if I wanted to read it because it is about a character with HIV. And those are valid stories to read about and to hear about. But I think because being a black gay man in the black gay community, I've heard so many stories about HIV and AIDS and all that, and just I'm so aware of it. I'm aware of the dark sides of it so much that sometimes just to think of reading about it, like, and I understand that there's stigma and we have to kind of break that. I'm also still like very, very like, oh, I don't want to read about HIV and AIDS, but I need to do that. And I'm glad that Jasmine recommended this because now I need to read more stories that explore HIV and AIDS, especially not from the perspective of like a dark or more like somber, mellow, just harsh place that it's always kind of been, but to break that stigma that people with HIV and AIDS aren't like in this dark, depressing state, but they are living their lives and enjoying their lives, and they are managing their lives with HIV and doing it successfully and healthily and happily. So I'm looking forward to reading this and seeing like someone with HIV who is living their lives, just exploring a different experience than I am accustomed to reading about, and expanding my mind and expanding my understanding of other people and of other experiences. And I finally got Wildcard by Marie Lu. It's time for a rematch. Let's go. We'll be buddy reading this with May of the channel May Bong. She has access to the book now, so I was just like, you know what? Let me put in my order for the book so that I can get into the next book. Let's get into the next drama. Let's hear what questions are answered in this book. I loved Warcross, and Warcross was that girl. She did her thing. So I'm excited to see what Wildcard is about to give me, how she is about to like flip my wig, because I feel like she's about to flip my wig for real. Some like people were commenting under the Warcross video of like people who read it, they were like, stuff is about to go down. Some people were like disappointed, and some people were like, bitch, shit's about to go down, honey. You're going like, honey, like I don't like. I want to tell you what's gonna happen, but I don't want to spoil it for you. And I'm just kind of like, okay, let me get the book already. Let's make it happen. So I will be reaching out to May, and I will also be reaching out to Jasmine so that we can start our buddy reads of these books. And I will do my best to buddy read these in July. These are my intentions. I will be buddy reading these. Plus, I'll also be buddy reading this one with Wendy and Erica. It's going to be a big buddy read for sure with these, and I will be finishing these 3 here. And I will try to fit in whatever other books that are on this list over here and make them happen. But you know, it ain't no guarantees, but we just gonna talk about it in case we do it. But this is the guaranteed TBR right here. This is what's going to do. This is what's gonna happen. It's gonna be magical. We're not gonna pull like a stunt like what happened in June, and we were like, oh, I'm gonna try to read all of these books because I had all of this time, and then I had to go back to work, and then it's like, oh no, girl, we don't have the time anymore. We can't do nothing. Bye, girl. Bye. We're gonna try and read these books later, honey. We'll fit them into the schedule how we can, but not right now. So I'm excited about reading all of these, finishing the ones that I need to finish, and buddy reading all these 3 other books. I'm excited. So thank you for spending your time with me. And I'm out this bitch like Fleek. The fuck?